Why most people don't make it past 85. Avoid these 5 deadly habits. Why do so many people never reach the age of 75? And why do others remain strong, clear-minded, and independent well into their 90s? The difference is not always explained by genetics or medical care alone. Research on healthy aging repeatedly points to something far more ordinary: the habits people follow every single day after 65. Common behaviors can gradually weaken the heart, muscles, brain, metabolism, and immune system over time. The danger is that these habits rarely feel harmful when you're doing them. Many older adults accept them as a normal part of aging and continue them for years without realizing the real cost. They don't realize that these habits are driving their decline. In this video, we're going through the 5 habits I see most often that quietly steal independence and shorten life expectancy. I'll explain exactly what's happening inside your body with each one. I'll show you simple tests you can do at home to check your strength, sleep quality, and social connection without needing any special equipment. And most importantly, I'll give you practical solutions that can be started immediately without complicated routines or expensive programs. None of these require a gym membership or dietary restrictions. They're simple and doable starting today. This video is not meant to frighten you or make you feel guilty about your habits. It's meant to show you what can still be changed. After 60, small daily decisions can either accelerate decline and steal your independence, or they can help protect your strength, your mind, and your ability to live independently for years to come. This isn't about achieving perfection or becoming an athlete. It's about making choices that compound over time into dramatically different outcomes. Let me start with the first habit that affects nearly everyone: sitting too much. It's probably something millions of older adults are doing right now without realizing how much it may be affecting their health. When most people think about staying healthy after 60, they immediately think about exercise. Did I go for a walk today? Did I get enough physical activity this week? But there's another question that may be even more important. How many hours did you spend sitting today? For many older adults, this question never even comes to mind. Yet it may have a greater impact on long-term health than they realize. Take Sandra. At 68, Sandra had what many people would consider a healthy lifestyle. Every morning, she enjoyed a brisk 30-minute walk around her neighborhood. She rarely missed a day. She believed that one habit was enough to keep her healthy. The problem wasn't what Sandra did in the morning. It was what happened during the rest of the day. After breakfast, she sat to read the newspaper. Later, she watched television, answered emails, worked on crossword puzzles. She sat while chatting with friends on the phone. She relaxed in her favorite chair after dinner. By bedtime, she had often spent more than 10 hours sitting down. When her legs gradually became weaker and climbing stairs started feeling more difficult, Sandra assumed it was simply part of getting older. Her doctor saw something different. He explained that long periods of sitting place the body under stress in ways many people never notice. When you sit for hours, your leg muscles barely contract. Blood moves more slowly, especially through the legs. Circulation decreases significantly. Large muscles that normally help regulate blood sugar and burn energy throughout the day stay completely inactive. The effects accumulate across multiple systems. Your heart has to work harder to pump blood to your extremities. Your digestive system slows down. Your metabolism decreases because those large muscle groups aren't being used. Your joints become stiffer because they're not moving through their full range of motion. Over time, standing up or carrying groceries becomes noticeably harder. Your metabolism slows down significantly. Your brain doesn't get the consistent blood flow it needs to maintain sharp thinking and concentration. Some people even develop dangerous blood clots from sitting too long without movement. This is why many experts emphasize an important point. A 30-minute walk cannot erase 10 hours of sitting. Exercise is essential, but it does not completely offset the effects of remaining inactive for the rest of the day. Your body benefits most when movement is spread throughout the entire day, not concentrated into one short workout. The solution is surprisingly simple. Many doctors recommend the 50-10 rule. After sitting for about 50 minutes, spend the next 10 minutes moving. You don't have to exercise intensely. Stand while talking on the phone. Walk around the house while waiting for the kettle to boil. During television commercials, stretch your legs, or practice standing up from your chair a few times. These small breaks keep your muscles active and your blood flowing. They support your cardiovascular system. They keep your metabolism elevated. They reduce the risk of dangerous blood clots. Sandra decided to follow this advice carefully. She kept her morning walk because she loved it, but she also stopped allowing herself to sit for hours without getting up. She set a timer on her phone to remind herself every 50 minutes. She would stand and walk around her living room, do some light stretches at her kitchen counter, go up and down a few stairs, and stand while reading the newspaper instead of sitting. 3 months later, she noticed remarkable changes. She stood up more easily from their chair. She walked with greater confidence throughout her house. She no longer felt as exhausted by the end of the day. She could climb stairs without her legs feeling weak. The biggest change wasn't that she exercised more intensely. It was that she stopped sitting so much during her day. Now, let's talk about the second habit that affects millions: not getting enough sleep. Many older adults believe that sleeping less is simply part of getting older and cannot be changed. They wake up earlier than they used to. They sleep only 5 or 6 hours a night. They tell themselves maybe this is just what happens at your age, and they accept it. Carl thought exactly the same way about his sleep situation. At 71, he rarely slept more than 6 hours a night. He usually fell asleep around midnight and woke up before dawn. He struggled to return to sleep once he woke up. Because he wasn't lying awake all night, tossing and turning, he assumed there wasn't much he could do about his sleep pattern. Over time, he noticed subtle changes in his thinking. He became forgetful about things he normally remembered. He felt less patient than before. Small tasks seemed to require much more effort. By early afternoon, he often felt drained. He blamed aging, never considering that poor sleep might be the real problem. When Carl mentioned this during a routine checkup, his doctor explained something many people don't realize. Growing older does not mean your body needs less sleep. The amount of deep sleep may naturally change with age, but your body still depends on adequate rest to repair itself every single night. Think of sleep as your body's overnight maintenance program. During sleep, damaged tissues begin to recover. Hormones that support muscle repair are released. Your immune system becomes more active, helping your body fight infections. Your brain activates a natural cleaning process that helps remove waste products that built up during the day. Researchers believe this nightly housekeeping plays an important role in protecting long-term brain health. Blood pressure naturally falls during healthy sleep, giving the heart and blood vessels time to rest after a full day of work. Consistently sleeping too little may increase strain on the cardiovascular system over many years. Carl's doctor recommended the 3 to 2 to 1 rule for better sleep. 3 hours before bed, stop eating large meals so your digestive system has time to rest. 2 hours before bed, limit drinking large amounts of water to reduce those nighttime bathroom trips. 1 hour before bed, avoid phones and other bright screens. Blue light can make it harder for your brain to recognize that it's time to sleep and wind down. Carl's doctor also suggested keeping a worry journal beside his bed. Instead of carrying tomorrow's concerns into the night, Carl spent a few minutes writing them down before turning off the lights. This gave his mind permission to let go until morning. He also made his bedroom darker by putting up heavy curtains. He kept the temperature cool, around 18 degrees Celsius. He followed a consistent bedtime every evening without exception. The results were remarkable. Within several weeks, Carl was sleeping 7 to 8 hours most nights. He woke up feeling refreshed and energized. His afternoon fatigue became much less noticeable. Even his memory seemed sharper than before. His wife noticed he was less irritable. His thinking seemed faster. He had more patience with everyday frustrations. Sometimes the problem isn't that we're getting older. It's that our bodies haven't been getting the rest they've genuinely needed. The third habit is social isolation. Not every health risk after 60 can be measured with a blood test. Some of the most dangerous changes happen quietly, without causing pain or obvious symptoms. One of them is social isolation. Rita discovered this without realizing it. After her husband passed away, the house suddenly felt much quieter. At first, family and friends visited often. There were phone calls, meals together, and people checking in on her. But as the months went by, life moved on for everyone else. The visits became less frequent. Rita stopped accepting invitations because she didn't want to be a burden or feel like an obligation to others. She convinced herself that staying home was easier and less complicated. Gradually, one quiet day became another, until weeks passed with very little meaningful conversation. She wasn't unhappy every day. She simply became disconnected from people she cared about. This disconnection is the danger. Many older adults experience something similar after retirement or losing a spouse. Because it happens gradually and slowly, it often feels like a normal part of aging. But there is an important difference between being busy and being connected. You can spend an entire day watching television or working in the garden and still feel completely alone. You can have family nearby and still experience profound loneliness. Real connection happens when another person knows you, listens to you, and shares part of life with you. That sense of belonging is something no hobby can fully replace. No activity can duplicate. Researchers now recognize that chronic loneliness affects far more than emotional well-being. When people remain socially isolated for long periods, the body often stays in a low-grade state of stress with elevated stress hormones. Meaningful conversations challenge memory, attention, language, and emotional processing all at the same time. Without regular social interaction, those mental skills receive less stimulation and begin to decline. Rebuilding connection doesn't require having dozens of friends or a huge social circle. Rita joined a local volunteer group in her community. She participated in activities at a senior center where she met others. She built relationships across generations by spending time with her granddaughter. Learning simple technology made an enormous difference for Rita. At first, she was hesitant and nervous about video calls. But after her granddaughter showed her how and walked her through it step by step, weekly video chats became a highlight of her week. Seeing familiar faces instead of only hearing voices made her feel connected again. Little by little, Rita began saying yes more often to invitations. Her life didn't become busier or more frantic. It became meaningful again in a deeper way. The fourth habit is eating foods that promote chronic inflammation. Many older adults believe they are eating a healthy diet simply because they avoid fast food and sugary desserts. That was certainly true for David. At 69, he rarely ordered takeout. He never drank soda. He tried to make smart choices every day with whole wheat toast and orange juice for breakfast, low-fat yogurt for snacks, vegetable oil for cooking because he heard it was heart healthy. David was surprised when his doctor told him that some of the foods he ate most often might be working against him. After 60, the body processes food differently. Muscle mass naturally decreases, meaning the body burns fewer calories at rest. Many people become less sensitive to insulin, making it easier for blood sugar to spike after meals and stay elevated longer. Low-grade chronic inflammation can quietly develop over months or years, placing stress on tissues throughout the body without causing immediate pain. That's why some foods that appear healthy deserve a second look before eating them. Commercial whole wheat bread is often highly processed and can raise blood sugar quickly without the fiber content being as effective. Fruit juices deliver large amounts of natural sugar without the fiber found in whole fruit. Flavored low-fat yogurts often contain surprisingly large amounts of added sugar to make them taste better. Refined seed and vegetable oils provide excessive omega-6 fats without enough omega-3 fats to maintain a healthy balance. When chronic inflammation builds over time, it has been linked to heart disease, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, and painful joint conditions. The damage is cumulative and progressive. David was eating these foods believing he was making healthy choices, but he was unknowingly feeding his inflammation problem. David's doctor encouraged him to make straightforward adjustments that didn't require complicated meal planning. Eat more eggs for high-quality protein. Replace refined cooking oils with extra virgin olive oil. Fill half of every meal with colorful vegetables. Add avocados for healthy fats, berries for natural antioxidants, and fatty fish several times a week for omega-3s. David didn't count calories or follow a complicated meal plan. He simply focused on eating foods that looked like they came from nature rather than a factory. He read labels and noticed which foods were processed. 3 months later, his follow-up tests showed lower inflammation markers. His blood sugar stabilized. His joint stiffness eased. Under doctor supervision, he was able to reduce some of his medications. His wife noticed he had more energy. His mood improved. He felt lighter and less sluggish throughout the day. The fifth and final habit is living with constant stress. Not all stress disappears after retirement. For many older adults, it simply changes its form and becomes even more persistent. Nancy understood this better than anyone. At 73, she no longer worried about workplace deadlines, but her mind rarely seemed to rest. She worried about every medical appointment that was coming up. She worried about unexpected expenses and whether she had enough savings. She worried about body aches and whether they meant something serious. She worried about her husband's health and whether he would need care soon. She worried about her children's problems and whether they were handling life well. She worried about whether she might someday become a burden to your family. Even on quiet days, her mind was busy preparing for problems that hadn't happened yet. This constant mental activity never seemed to stop. After months of feeling constantly exhausted, Nancy assumed stress was simply something she had to live with. Her doctor explained that while occasional stress is a normal part of life and can even be healthy, constant stress is very different. Constant stress is toxic. When stress continues for weeks or months, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, remains elevated longer than it should. Elevated cortisol affects everything. Blood pressure may increase because the heart and blood vessels remain in a constant state of alert. Sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented, making overnight recovery difficult. The immune system weakens, making it harder to fight infections and recover from illness. Even her digestion was affected. She couldn't eat certain foods without distress. The goal is not to eliminate stress completely. That is impossible or even healthy. The goal is to stop allowing stress to control your life and steal your peace. Nancy's doctor encouraged her to start with one simple question whenever she felt overwhelmed. Is this something I can control? If yes, focus on one small actionable step she could take. If no, practice letting go instead of replaying the same worries over and over in her mind. Nancy also adopted several grounding practices. She practiced mindfulness and breathing for a few minutes each morning to stay present. She did gentle yoga and daily walks to release physical tension that accumulated throughout the day. She joined a local community group where sharing worries with understanding peers made her burdens feel lighter. She felt less alone with her concerns. Several months later, Nancy's blood pressure was better controlled. She slept more soundly. She felt calmer throughout the day. Her family noticed she was more present during conversations. Now here's the most important part. We've covered 5 habits that quietly affect the lives of many older adults. Sitting too much, not getting enough sleep, social isolation, eating foods that promote chronic inflammation, living with constant stress. The good news is that none of them are beyond your control. You don't have to change everything at once. In fact, one small improvement often leads to another. Moving more helps you sleep better. Better sleep reduces stress and gives you mental clarity. Lower stress makes it easier to eat well because you're not using food to cope. Staying connected gives you motivation to keep going and maintain your new habits. That's how lasting change happens. Not through perfection, through small choices repeated every day. That's the honest truth that people don't want to hear. There's no magic pill. There's no shortcut. There's just the compounding effect of small actions taken consistently over time. No matter your age, it is never too late to strengthen your body and protect your mind and improve your quality of life. You can start today. You don't have to wait for Monday or the first of the month or some arbitrary deadline. You can choose right now to stand up more. You can choose to prioritize sleep tonight. You can reach out to one person who matters to you. You can replace one processed food with real food. You can take one small step to reduce stress. These choices might feel insignificant when you make them, but over months and years, they compound into a completely different trajectory. They separate the people who decline and the people who thrive after 65. I've seen it happen hundreds of times in my practice. People who said they were too old, people who said habits couldn't change, people who said their decline was inevitable and permanent. Then they made one small shift, and that shift changed everything. Their energy improved, their confidence returned, their independence became a reality instead of just a memory. Their body responded in ways they didn't think were possible anymore. Their mind became sharper, their mood improved, they had something to look forward to again. If this information was helpful, please hit like and subscribe. It helps more people over 60 find content that genuinely changes their health. Because most people don't know this. Most people think their decline is inevitable. Most people think that's just aging, and there's nothing they can do about it. But the healthiest people I know aren't the lucky ones with perfect genetics. They're the ones who made different choices. They're the ones who decided that their independence was worth protecting.